acknowledge and talk about our heart chakra. Getting in touch with my heart chakra and even taking it a step back further, just acknowledging it, understanding what it is and why it is closed, how we can kind of open it again, all of the things have been so pivotal and just a really beautiful experience in my own grief journey and in those that I coach. And I just want to share that with you today because our heart chakra, it is one of the first things I feel like that can close and just remain closed, and one of the last things to kind of open up again when we are grieving.
Welcome to Mourning Sips and Soul Shifts.
Welcome back to another mini-sode of Mourning Sips and Soul Shifts on the Life with Grief podcast. I am your host, Tara Accardo. First and foremost, I have to apologize in advance. If you couldn't hear and tell already, I am getting over a cold. I probably sound a little stuffy, a little not quite like myself, and that is why. But you know what, you guys, this episode could not wait. So I'm going to do my best and just thank you in advance for bearing with me because I am so grateful you are here with me today. And if you are listening to this, I have a feeling that your heart might be feeling a little heavy today or every day. Let's be real. You are probably going through a difficult time, which is why you have found this humble little podcast. And maybe you are feeling a little closed off. Maybe even like your heart is wrapped in some barbed wire some days, and you just cannot feel or find relief. And I just want to say, if that is the case, I see you because I have been there and you are not alone in any of this. So today I want to gently explore something that honestly has been on my heart and soul and mind to do for a little while now. And then I had some other topics come up that I wanted to cover, but it has just been kind of yelling at me. And I'm like, okay, it is time finally. We are going to acknowledge and talk about our heart chakra. And this getting in touch with my heart chakra and even taking it a step back further, just acknowledging it, understanding what it is and why it is closed, why it can be closed, how we can kind of open it again, all of the things have been so pivotal and just a really beautiful experience in my own grief journey and in those that I coach. And I just want to share that with you today because our heart chakra, it is one of the first things I feel like that can close and just remain closed, and one of the last things to kind of open up again when we are grieving, when we've been through a loss. So it's worth the conversation. Now, if you are new to the idea of chakras, I keep saying chakras, you guys. I think really it's chakra. I just don't want to botch it too much with my pronunciation. So just bear with me. I'm just going to say chakra for the purpose of this conversation, but please don't at me. Okay. You don't need to be super spiritual or have your crystals be all charged under the full moon, right? To feel this and understand what our chakras are. Think of chakras as energy centers in the body. Each one corresponds to different emotions, patterns, and parts of our physical and emotional self. Honestly, I could do a separate video on each chakra as it relates to grief. So, that being said, if that is something that you guys want to hear or see, please let me know in the comments wherever you are listening or watching this, because I would love to dig into those, but I want to make sure it's something that you guys want, right? So let me know. But when it comes to grief, the heart chakra, which is located right in the center of the chest, as you probably gathered, is one of the most important to nurture. I would argue probably the most important because it governs so much more than just love in the romantic sense. I think that's what a lot of people think, right? We think heart chakra, we might think relationships or love or whatever, but it's so much deeper than that. It holds our compassion, our capacity for forgiveness, for others, for ourselves, and yes, even our grief. And it's a space where love and loss kind of collide, if you will. And when we experience a deep loss, this chakra especially can take a very, very direct hit. So let's just quickly talk about what happens when the heart chakra closes. When our center, right here in our chest, if you can't see me pointing here, is closed or blocked, which is so common in grief, of course, goes without saying, it might feel like you are stuck in sadness that just doesn't move. You are completely disconnected or very close to being completely disconnected from joy, even if it's right in front of you. Like you could be in surrounded by loved ones or people that you love, or you are in a place that you love, or you're just in a situation that generally speaking you would enjoy or would have at some point, but there's just something missing there, right? There's that expression, right? My heart isn't in it. Perfect depiction, I think, kind of what this can feel like when our heart chakra might be closed. It can also look like overgiving to others and forgetting yourself in the process. I think that's very common in grief, but we don't always acknowledge that, at least not until later. On the flip side, you might shut down completely. You might be very self isolating. You want to protect your heart, right? Because guess what? We don't want any more pain. So that's valid. That makes sense that might happen. You might also fear being rejected, or you might feel unworthy of love altogether. So, again, we're thinking beyond a death here. I want this conversation today to be a bit general for this reason. This could be a divorce, an ending relationship, an ending of a friendship, right? You might even find yourself pouring out love to others in hopes that it will be returned just to fill that aching void. And you might feel absolutely crushed or heartbroken when it's not. Grief can make us feel like we've built walls around our heart just to survive the day to day. And honestly, sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes that is what keeps us going. But over time, if we don't loosen that grip, so to speak, we never give ourselves the chance to feel something new, to breathe again, perhaps to love again, even if not in the same way, right? Like, let's say we have lost someone via a death. We probably will never love someone in the way that we loved that person. And that's okay. We want to honor that. That's a very sacred bond and connection. That doesn't mean loving the person you lost any less. It just means you are open to the fullness of life again. And that is the essence of this podcast and life with grief and what it means to live a life with grief. And having our heart chakra open, I say it all the time on this podcast. I feel like, just crack open that door. Just keep this in the back of your mind for later, right? It's all these like little baby steps. Opening our heart chakra again, a very, very important part of that process. So let's quickly talk about what happens when our heart chakra is open. You might notice kind of a really beautiful softness in your body and the way that you carry yourself and the way that your nonverbal cues are, and just your overall energy, aura, demeanor. You might notice a little more patience or compassion with yourself or with others. Maybe there's a little glimmer of joy that feels safe to feel again. It doesn't feel so foreign. Or maybe, just maybe, you feel connected to a person, a new person, an old person, a place, a situation, whatever, in a new, refreshed way, a way that you never have before. Maybe even in a spiritual way, right? Maybe you're unlocking new versions of yourself, new iterations of yourself, and that is so expansive and so amazing and so beautiful. But we have to allow that in for it to happen. And having our heart chakra closed that's a barrier. That's a barrier to entry. And this doesn't happen all at once. It is not a switch that you can just flip. It is a practice. It's a remembering, a returning, a becoming. All of this is. So now you might be like, okay, Tara, I hear you. I'm taking this all in. Maybe I'm taking it with a grain of salt. But how do I begin to open my heart chakra while I'm grieving? I am in so much pain. I almost don't even want to be open to this right now. Maybe I feel guilty for kind of opening this chakra. Again, remember, this is so much bigger than just the situation or the grief that you're in. This is your spiritual alignment. This is making sure that you are okay and that you can show up for yourself, show up for others, live a life that you are so worthy and deserving of living. But if you are wondering, okay, so what are my action steps, Tara? How do I go about doing this? Let's talk about a few very practical, grounded ways to gently support your heart chakra in the midst of grief, because that's a lot of balancing that we got to do, right? Number one, movement and breath. Certain types of physical movement, especially, can help you literally open the chest and that heart space. So, if you are not watching on YouTube or the video version of this, basically, trying gentle back bends, like a supported fish pose or like a heart opener over a yoga block. So, like, this is if you maybe are literally laying on your back and you have something under you. A yoga block would, of course, be ideal, but you're opening your chest. You're literally opening your shoulders. Actually, this leads me into my next one. So, shoulder opens. So, here I am just sitting up in my chair. I'm opening my shoulders, right? Little twists as you're doing that can also help release stuck energy in your chest. Even something as simple as standing with your arms open wide and just taking a few deep breaths can really shift your energy. I also love to do this when I'm out on a walk. So if I'm by myself, of course, this is easier to do. If I'm pushing my daughter in a stroller, I might just like stop for a second and just like make sure I do this as I'm walking. So, and it's just, opening yourself up, taking those breaths, and you might not feel like it's revolutionary in the moment. Again, that's kind of not the point, right? These are subtle, intentional movements and actions that will maybe give you like a little just sense of peace of something in the moment, but it's compounding. And it's the effort of trying, right? It's like you'll never know if you don't try. So let it be soft. Let it be intuitive. This isn't a performance. You're not doing this for anyone but yourself right now. It is a sacred tending to your heart and your chakras and what your body and soul needs, especially after you have been through so much. So, number two here is heart centered breath work. So, kind of related to, getting out in fresh air, walking, movement, that breath work, getting that air in our lungs, it's very important and it can be very calming and a great way to regulate our nervous system and open our heart chakra at the same time. So, one of my favorites is very simply just placing your hands over your heart, closing your eyes, and taking a few really just beautiful deep breaths into that space right there. And imagining your breath moving in and out of your chest like a wave or a tide. We always talk about these grief waves, right? So just maybe imagine some very gentle kind of ocean waves as you're doing this, whatever your happy place is. And as you're doing this, you can even say to yourself on the inhale, I'm open. And on the exhale, I receive. Just very, very simple. This is not, again, revolutionary stuff here. And do this for just a few minutes a day, a few moments a day, if that's all you have, or in between meetings or in your car really briefly. But it will never become a priority until we make it a priority. And that's what is so important about these little micro moments and these micro actions that we take every day. There is a level of commitment that we have to take here to do the grief work, to begin healing. But when we make that decision for ourselves and we commit to that sacred work, we're doing so much more than just trying to make ourselves feel better, than trying to get a quick fix, right? The way in which our heart chakra being open can literally change our life like knows no bounds. So I'm going to get off my soapbox on that right now, and I'm going to move on to number three. But again, just please keep that in mind because this is more than just like some surface level stuff we're trying to do here through breath work or movement or whatever. Number three, have some touchstones of love or things that remind you of love or bring you a sense of peace and calm and fullness near you, if that is helpful to you. Because that feeling of being surrounded by love and also safety, because grief and loss especially can make us feel very unsafe, if not physically, just just mentally, right? We might be missing our confidant, our person, like these things or people that once grounded us. We don't have that anymore, right? Especially if it was through a death. Like with my parents, oh my God, it was like the two most grounding presences and people in my life were now gone. Like I literally had to find new things, people, ways within my life to bring in the love and safety that I was not getting from their physical presence anymore. But if a physical touchstone does help you, maybe that is a photo of your person, a piece of jewelry, or just some memento that they gave you or reminds you of them. A stone like rose quartz, or which I have right here. I'm showing on camera if you can't see this. I always have that nearby, especially when I'm recording. Just something that is associated with heart healing can be a really beautiful way to just, kind of again, ground you, bring you back to the present moment. And ultimately, you just want to let these things be anchors when you feel yourself kind of shutting down, or again, maybe self isolating, you're going inward a little bit, maybe you're overthinking and just feeling overwhelmed. Like, that's where all of these things can come in handy, right? The breath work, the grounding, having those things that you can physically touch and be like, okay, I am here. Let me touch my heart. Let me put my hand to my heart. Let me reset and let me try and open her up again. So number 4, journaling prompts. You guys know I do love some journaling, but these prompts, I don't want this to overwhelm you. These are nothing crazy. These are just a few good things that you might want to try and ask yourself. First one is, what would it feel like to soften around this pain? Just 1%. And again, you are welcome to pause this if you actually want to do these now, save this for later, but these could be some really good questions that can help open that chakra for you. So again, what would it feel like to soften around this pain just 1%? Number 2, what love still lives inside me, even if it feels buried right now? And number 3, what might my person, if we have lost a loved one, want me to feel more of? And I invite you to go deep here, maybe think a little bit deeper than like, oh, they'd want me to be happy. They'd want me to be joyful. Because I think a lot of the time when we don't kind of challenge ourselves, it's like, yeah, I know what my loved one would want me. My loved one wouldn't want me to be sad. I think that's like a lot of our default. And then it just makes us spiral, right? It just makes us even sadder that they're not here. And it's just, I get it. I've been there and I don't need myself or anyone else telling me that my parents would want me to be happy for me. Yes, of course. And they would want me to be happy and joyful and live a great life. Those are things that we have to get to on our own. We can't have anyone else tell us that. We have to take these aligned, intentional actions and steps to, for lack of a better term, make ourselves believe it and that it is possible. And all the ways I'm talking about today, albeit this is all very high level, can help us just scratch the surface to do that. Okay, so number 5, love me some good affirmations. So here are just a few that you can borrow today that are specifically for your heart and for opening the heart chakra. Number 1, very simply, it is safe to feel. Again, in grief, I think specifically our heart feels like it is one of the most wounded parts of us. We can literally feel it in our chest, the heaviness, the constriction, right? So when we can ease that and feel a little bit of safety and peace and calm and comfort, that's what begins to crack open that heart chakra a little bit. That safety and that space and permission to feel our emotions freely, that's a really, really important piece of this. So especially if you feel like your heart chakra is closed or you're having a hard time opening it, please keep that in mind. And also, I'm totally going off on a tangent here, but I think this is really important. Make sure you have a good community or a therapist or a counselor or a grief coach like me to talk through these things with if you don't have that, because taking that extra step or maybe having someone who doesn't have skin in the game quite like you do, who isn't as close to the loss as you do, to talk about things with, to bounce thoughts, ideas, feelings off of, it's necessary. It comes up in so many episodes of this podcast and with guests and things. Like, the community and having the right support system is pivotal. And when you do, I promise you, you will feel that heart chakra opening, because it's never going to replace the love that you're missing, let's say from the death of a loved one, or someone that you are now no longer with, or a friendship that you lost, whatever. It's not about replacing it. It's finding that love and that safety and that comfort in other people, in other ways, but most importantly, within ourselves. And when we can tap into that and we know it's possible through exercises just like this, that chakra, it's going to open, and it'll open probably quicker than you even anticipate. So I think that was an important one to mention, because I think too many people are very quick to shut down help. They don't want to explore it. They're not comfortable. They can't afford it, whatever. But our heart is nothing to mess around with, right? We need to care for it. We should want to care for it. And I don't think any of us want to be hardened, closed off people to others or to life. So feeling that sense of safety to feel, and having people in our life that can witness us in that space, in our grief, etc., it's life-changing. It's very, very important. Okay, enough of that. Couple more mantras for you. I allow myself to receive love even through my pain. Good way to balance both. And last, I am open to receiving love, abundance, expansion, and peace in my heart and throughout my whole body. If you want to add that one in there too. Our entire being deserves to feel all of these things. But because we're focusing on the heart today, when you are putting your hands over your heart, make sure you are calling in that love, that abundance, the expansion, the peace, all of it, all the good things. And let these mantras, or any mantra that you feel called to, be something that you can return to on those hard days. All right, so just closing thoughts here, just to clarify one more time. The heart chakra isn't about bypassing your pain or forcing yourself to feel, high vibes only, or like just let the love in and you'll be fine. Like, no. It is about making space for your humanity, for the duality of grief and love, and for all of that to exist at the same time. Because yes, one way or another, however this looks for you, your heart has been broken or wounded at the very least. But that doesn't mean it is incapable of healing or giving or accepting love again. And again, this is so much bigger than just love, but hopefully I have made that clear today. And grief has probably cracked your heart open, but also has closed it in some ways. It's this crazy dichotomy that is just the nature of grief and loss. But maybe, consider this, it has also made room for something deeper, or that it could with time. I never, ever anticipated the loss of my parents would make space for the things and the people and the opportunities and even my job and things like that. I never could have anticipated that the events of losing my parents would make way for all of those things now. But it has. But I don't think it would have if I weren't open to it. But in opening that heart chakra of yours, you can make room for something more tender, more true, and ultimately more you, and what lights you up, and what makes living life with grief bearable. And I just want to remind you that you are doing beautifully. Keep breathing, keep softening, keep moving with intention, keep making aligned decisions. And please know that I am so proud of you, and none of this is easy. None of this is anything any of us signed up for, but you are here and you are doing a damn good job and you are doing the work. And I, at least, am very proud of you, if no one has told you that lately. So until next time, I am sending you so much love and light through this heart of mine and through the screen or your headphones, however you're listening. And I will see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for tuning into Mourning Sips and Soul Shifts by the Life with Grief podcast and your host, Tara Accardo. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and as always, I encourage you to take what feels good and most aligned for you and leave the rest. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening, and if you're loving what you're hearing here, consider sharing it with a friend or leaving a friendly review. It's always so appreciated. I'll see you in our next coffee date together for more high vibe and soul shifting goodness.